Let's go back to this renewable energy debate. We talked to Dick Smith yesterday. He's taking legal action unless the ABC corrects its fact-checked against him. I want to bring in Matt Rennie, who's the CEO, the co-CEO of Rennie. Thanks for joining us, Matt. I just want to put up on screen, first of all, the statement that the ABC says Dick Smith made that is wrong. Dick Smith told Radio 2GB, Ben Fordham again, he said, look, I can tell you this claim by the CSIRO that you can run a whole country on solar and wind is simply a lie. It is not true. They are telling lies. No country has ever been able to run entirely on renewables. That's impossible. Now, the ABC say Dick Smith is wrong because some countries have run completely on renewables. Where has this happened, Matt? I'm not aware of it.
Well, it's one of those situations, I think, Chris, where the question probably bears a little bit of interrogation, to be honest. I mean, yes, there are situations where, say, Germany, for example, does have a day where it runs completely on renewable energy. South Australia is exactly the same.
Yes,
and what you've got there is a situation where there's so much
That's a completely different thing, though, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. It's where there's so much renewable energy that it just swamps the amount of demand for power. But of course, when demand rises, it's when you've got that really peaky part that we've traditionally been meeting with gas and with, which is increasingly now being met by batteries and the like. And so the conversation about whether or not there ever has been one that's been run on renewable energy, I think the answer is no, there hasn't, because most countries are connected to other countries, particularly in Europe.
Exactly. Look, there's some countries who have a natural advantage, like Norway with its hydro, but they have it connected to France. So when they haven't got enough hydro, they get nuclear power in there. New Zealand could do very well and often does with hydro, but it has coal generators to back it up. This is the very point, the critical point about renewable energy that Dick Smith was making. Yeah, you can be powering along in South Australia when the wind's blowing and the sun's shining in the middle of the day, but you can't run 100% on renewables because you can't store all that energy, certainly not in batteries, and they don't have enough hydro in this country. So they have to be plugged into other sources, otherwise it doesn't work. So surely Dick Smith, so far, technology might prove him wrong in 50 years' time, but so far Dick Smith is dead right. No country has done this.
Yeah, well, I think that's right. And what we're heading for, I think, in Australia is baseload renewables, enough hydro to be able to fill the gaps. And there will ultimately be a role for household batteries, and at the very top of the peak, there'll be natural gas. And the extent that there's no natural gas, we'll need more batteries. But we're not there yet. I think we're moving quickly down that path, but not there yet. Certainly not in Australia. But I don't think there is a single country in Europe there might be islands that are happy to have the power off a couple of hours a day somewhere in the Pacific or something like that. But the reality is that businesses need power, factories need power, and we need it when we need it.
And even then, as Dick Smith points out, he's talking about energy overall. So all those places would still use diesel and petrol and gas for motor transport and the like. So we're just so far off this. Let's have a look at what the ABC trots out to defend its position. It quotes Andrew Blackers, a professor of engineering at the ANU Institute for Climate, Energy and Disaster. He says several detailed studies show that getting to 100% renewables based mostly on solar and wind is quite straightforward, provided that enough transmission and storage is built. That little fact of storage, this is the whole weakness, the Achilles heel that the whole world is grappling with. And then another study talks about Albania, Bhutan, Nepal, some of these small countries that can get a lot of power from renewables, often hydro, but again, all their transport is with diesel. And you want to go somewhere that is reasonable to compare. You talk about California. And it, like South Australia, as you mentioned, that now and then we'll have a really good day with solar and wind and be running 100% on renewables. But most of the time it's using nuclear and hydro as well. And it also imports power from other states that's often generated by coal, Matt.
Well, the other thing is that, yes, it is entirely plausible to run an economy completely off solar and wind, but you'd have so much wasted solar and wind that you will be swamping the amount of demand with supply. I mean, we know that in
and
Germany,
so much
for
land
example,
producing it
that was
too.
90. Well, that's right. Yeah, and there's obviously that tension between agriculture and renewables. But in Germany, that was a 90 gigawatt system of conventional power, which they then built another 90 gigawatts of renewables. And so they had 180 gigawatts of power supporting 90 gigawatts of demand. Now, there's an affordability question there, and they're certainly experiencing that in Europe as well.
Sure is. Affordability and practicalities. Thanks for outlining all that for us, Matt. I appreciate it. Matt Rennie there, who's the co-CEO of Rennie.